Hello, hello, everybody. Happy hump day. It is Wednesday, W-I-N, Wednesday. My friend Lauren, she was just visiting. It's like her favorite day of the week. She says it's Wednesday, and it is. It's a
Well,
win.
who doesn't like hump day?
Right. And there's that. Hump day and win day. Well, happy Wednesday, buddy. It's always good to get back on with you. Here we are on several different platforms doing our thing again. So it's Wednesday, and today we're going to be talking about soft masculinity, or the rise of soft that's been happening. Is it healing or harming men? That's kind of the question. That's the pose. That's the stance we're talking about. And we're two men, just beautiful, lovely men who have had wonderful discussions around this,
Yeah, yeah.
who love talking about divine feminine, who love divine masculine. And I just wanted to pose that question, like, what, first of all, like, as we usually do, let's define like sanity. And then we can kind of get into, is it healing or harming men over the next, 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah. Can I just say, first of all, Aaron James, when you go back and listen to this video, you're going to understand this comment. This microphone makes you
Yeah.
sound like a 500-pound masculine Viking who's like able to blow through one of those horns and like speak atop the mountaintops.
Like that.
Yeah, exactly, dude. It's like your voice is so much deeper, dude. It's awesome. So anyway,
Oh yeah, this is my hypnotherapy mic.
yeah, I think it's
This is
funny
what you
on
can listen. Thank
exactly
you, man.
on the rise of soft masculinity that you use this mic that actually makes you sound more masculine in here. So,
Thanks.
so
Well, the secret is I just did 10 push-ups.
okay,
So
yeah. Hold on a sec.
that's the secret. Hold on. Let's do 10 push-ups.
Okay, I'm ready to go. My 10 push-ups are all knocked out here, man. And so I know
Let's
it's
do 10 more. I just need
taking
to
you
get
way
that
too
done.
long. My voice is
Ready for
so much deeper,
masculinity.
so much deeper.
See, I told you.
Hey, so let's do this. So the rise of soft masculinity, would you let's define that. Would you define that? What does that even mean?
Let's talk about a masculine frame. I'm learning a
Yep.
lot more about like a weak frame or kind of a fake frame in masculinity. There's a lot from our past. Like, let's talk about on a global scale or like wide scale. There's a lot of men that have been raised by female, which is totally fine, totally beautiful. Who maybe get men who didn't have a healthy masculine in their life to lead them, and women definitely bring about great men. In fact, it was one of my favorite quotes is strong women bring forth strong men. And that's very important and very true. And if they don't have a healthy masculine in their life, that's what the kind of the word soft comes in. It's like men who are not for themselves or others or their family, who are maybe not attracting the women that they want. They don't have the confidence, right? The ones who are, or more, or women. You've met other men before. Sometimes where like they're just softer, maybe even their voices is maybe strong, maybe it's capable. They just don't have that masculine feel. And I've heard people call it soft masculine. That's why I put it in there because
Okay.
we've all helped notice. And there's all, I think the rise of spirituality, the rise of psychic abilities, the rise of all this stuff is causing men to step into this. So there's many of them just are just so much softer than the healthy masculine, how that it comes across. And again, that's why I want to define this first. So does that make sense?
Yes. And that's, I want to define that too. And that's because this topic is a great topic and there's so many different perspectives to go on, but let's maybe we can just look at this. First, we could look at a biological perspective of masculine and feminine. I mean, just first biologically, you could say, well, there's the masculine is a testosterone driven with strength and drive and protectiveness. That's biologically, and even ancestrally, feminine is estrogen and progesterone driven, and it's nurturing, receiving, life giving. But this is very surface level stuff. That's very surface level. But we don't want to not acknowledge that because we are animals also. We are animals. And this is our animal nature. Okay. So it's important to really look at that first. So we have biology. And then we also have our energetic, I guess you could say, psychological perspective, right? So there's many traits that people identify as masculine. Like sometimes it's defined as purpose and direction, stability and logic. right? And so
Yeah.
from the energetic part of this, I think it's important. I like to not define man and woman with this, because as you and
Yeah.
I have talked about, is we all have masculine and feminine, we all have polarity inside us. So the feminine energy traits, flow, intuition, receptiveness, softness, nurturing, creativity, expression. So it's interesting because this is the stuff that's been associated with these two things from an energy standpoint. But as a man or a woman listening to this, we all have those traits as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. Yeah, that's important. And
You know what I was
go
going to
ahead
say?
and finish.
There's one other perspective. You know how we like to go micro and macro. I like to do that.
Yeah.
The quantum spiritual realm of masculine and feminine polarities. This is like the yin and the yang. And so from a let's call it spiritual levels, another way to say it, masculine would be consciousness, the witness, the stillness, and feminine would be life force, the motion, the expression. And in quantum terms, you could say the masculine is the particle and the feminine is the wave.
Beautiful. Yes. Thank you. That's why I want to get a baseline for what we're talking about here. And the other part I want to add about the how we're encouraging emotional vulnerability. And I think that men lack that. So when it comes to being emotional vulnerable, that can scare the shit out of men, and or be
Yeah.
like, well, yeah, I'm not going to show my emotions, especially not. It's a difficult thing, and we're in an era that is beginning to ask for this emotional vulnerability in man, while at the same time still being a man. So how do we do that? What does that look like? I think that we're not trained that in school. We're not taught that in school. And these healthy fathers that have taught us both sides of that we both have feminine and masculine inside of us, that can be challenging. And so things overcorrected in this have men overcorrected to a point where then they become, and the word's thrown around a lot, toxic in this process of helping men who have wounds to become healthy, right? So a lot of these different terms being, so I really want to make sure we're bringing honor to all of them and talking about this with love and compassion.
This is good, man. Let's capitalize on what you just said, because it's not just the rise, and you're calling it, now I understand you're calling it soft masculinity. So let's look at what's happening with both men and women in our society, because it's actually everything's a polarity bound. So if men, let's say the word soft, for what does that mean specifically? I think is we're going to be more tender, more gentle, right? That would be what you, and there's many things that could be associated with it: more tender, more gentle. Whereas women in society are being called to be more manlike, more structured. Now, again, this is not right or wrong, but what's very interesting is I love this in relationships. In general, dude, someone told me this, and this was just mind blowing. Let's see how this resonates with you. Is in general, our society, women want their man to be like a woman, and men want their women to be like a man. Now, when I first heard that, I said, what does that mean? Okay, wait a minute. Men, so let's start with women. Women want their man to be more like, listen to me more soft, more gentle, more caring. You need a woman. and men want their woman to be more like, hey man, come out and hunt with me. Come drive these cars with me. Come do these things. That doesn't mean that men and women can't have those things.
Right.
But I think it's so cool, because when you look at it like that, you're like, to me, it was very freeing to go, oh man, you know what? That's a good point. Like, the power when we are in our own divine essence, there's so much more power. When a woman is in her divine essence, she has more power. When a man is in his divine essence, we have more power. And I think that's an important piece of this. So for a while, I think I told you this story, I was trying to figure out how to be more emotional and more caring. And I was trying to do that with a framework of a woman, and it didn't work at all. It really crushed my spirits. I lost.
So meaning, let me break it down. So make sure I understand. So you're saying in relationship with, you were wanting to show up more positive, more compassionate, more caring, and all that.
More caring,
and so
more emotional.
more. And so the way that you knew, the way that you decided to go do that was, oh, I'm going to be more feminine.
I'm going to
I'm going to
model a
come from
woman.
that. Hmm,
Yeah, model a
interesting.
woman, because
Now we're getting to it.
they're the emotional ones. So, and I tried to model a woman, and I literally felt crushed. And the big learning was, I realized I feel at a very high level, and I know you, my friend, you're one of the other men that I know that feel at a very high level. I realized how deeply I feel, but I don't feel like a woman. And when I realized, whoa, there is a difference of how we feel, it blew my mind. And it seems so simple, but I'm like, oh my gosh, wait a minute. How do we feel? So what is emotion? What is a deep emotional feeler as a man?
Yeah.
It's very different than as a deep emotional feeler as a woman. It really is different.
It is. So yeah, how do we do that? So let's break that down. Well, I'm curious if, and we can use our own internal stories for this, because I don't mind sharing relationship and the learnings that I've been having. But for you, once you started seeing data points of that not working relationship, then what did you do? How did you begin to change that and shift that for other relationships,
Yeah,
or in
it's
that
important.
one? I'm curious.
No, I love that, because, and you'll resonate with this, my friend. Like, everyone around you is a mirror of you.
Hmm.
The only person that you can ever date and marry is you. But you will date and marry your repressed parts, or you'll date and marry the parts of self you love. But the ones you haven't loved get really expressed. So I'm just saying this because we tend to sort of blame the other partner for the things that are occurring, but they're expressing us. So when I realized that I tried to act and be as if like almost emotional feeling as a woman, and I felt crushed. One of the first things that I really decided to do was to go inside self and just feel what I felt like inside self. I honestly, before 2019, I didn't feel myself, and I don't know how to even describe that to people. To go in and feel self, I had never felt self. I had always stayed busy, built another business, hired another person, built another program. I'd never stopped to feel myself. And that seems like kind of I don't know, sounds like a funny thing to say, but what do you actually feel like inside you? If we stay so busy, you never actually get to acknowledge what you feel on the inside.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well said. And I think to piggyback on that, then really is this too is something we've said before: is men, it's okay to feel emotions. It is okay to express emotions and to also to your partner, to the feminine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a big part of it.
Right.
Doing it with compassion, doing it with love, standing your frame, standing in on your own 2 feet, and being able to have boundaries around that. So I think knowing your needs, knowing your boundaries, knowing your relationship are important. And as emotions come up, anger, maybe rage sometimes, or sadness. Okay, you're not seen as weak when you're able to communicate effectively what those emotions are.
Mm.
They're important. These are all messages from the body, messages from your unconscious mind communicating to you. And for you to be able to first express, let's say for men, in going from, this being more emotionally vulnerable, it's really about yourself. And one of my biggest tips, and one of the things I learned the hard way, which is as the emotion is coming up, if you are overwhelmed and not in a great place, it's a good time to say pause, time out. I need to go process this. That something is coming up. So stepping away, arguments, sad conversations, things like that, big decision conversations. If things are coming up, those are messages that you've got to enter quite good at this yet. So I think part of being
Mm.
emotionally vulnerable is then feeling the things as they're coming up and getting better at process, which we did. We have a live that you can check out when we talked about the recoding journal and like helping
Yeah.
as emotions come up, how to deal with that. I think that really helped one in this emotional vulnerability without becoming too soft or stripping away the fire
Yeah.
that men have, to just be okay and safe and acknowledge that emotions are going to happen, that it's safe to have and feel emotions. And then when you're ready to express partner to the feminine, doing that in your masculine frame, not becoming a feminine and thinking you have to do it that way.
Ooh, I really like how you define that. And I think what you're talking about is something I don't think it's been tapped into very much, but it's huge what you're saying, because I can see where there. I love how you made that a little bit of a framework, because you have two sides of this. One, the safety of actually feeling an emotion. Most men and women I know do not know how to feel emotion. We've never been shown, and our society shows us. Matter of fact, it's weak to feel emotion. So that's, I think, first step, like you're saying, is do I even, that's why I'm saying, do I even feel my own emotion? Do I even stop to feel myself? I wasn't until about 41, almost dying. I realized, oh shit, this is why I'm almost dying, is because I haven't felt my emotion. Seriously, I'm not kidding. So do you stop and feel yourself? And one of the reasons we don't is because we're shown that it's somehow weak. But I like how you're saying this, is because you're addressing even talking to the feminine, let's say your partner. This is a big deal. What you're saying, to stop and go process. I've seen you do this in your relationships. I've actually seen you do this in your relationship. It is awesome. I kind of modeled that from you. I said, man, that's powerful to go to sit and be like, I have to feel before I respond. Because, so let's look at this. Emotions. It's energy, right? It's
Emotion,
motion, it's energy, motion, right?
yeah.
So what happens is you have the high part of the wave and the low part of the wave. You will say the most disruptive things in your partnership or in your life. If you're at the high part of the wave, the high point, it's great. And at the low point, it's terrible. You will screw shit up and make the worst decisions in your business. If you make them at the high point of the wave, it's great. And the low point of the wave, it's terrible. But when you go through that wave, and what you're saying is, let me step back and go through the wave on my own without saying something, right? Because I screw shit up when I talk here and I talk here and I talk here. Go through the wave, don't say anything, come to here. And oh my gosh, I don't even know what that process is even called, but speaking when you've allowed this emotion to process through you is ultimate power, truly.
Yeah. I think the word that is we're breaking that down more scientifically, because that is important. I think we keep repeating this over and over on these different sessions. People need to hear it. It's beautiful. Even in literally in the middle of a conversation, I don't care if there's other people there or whatnot. I will, and you've probably seen me do it, where I just breathe, and I'm looking at where that's at, what that message is. These are data points. Those emotions are coming up to tell you something. They're coming up, welling up sometimes with extreme sadness to cause you to cry, or anger and even rage sometimes, because it's going to be like, fucking get this across to you. But that doesn't mean it has to come up and blow up into your partner or blow up the relationship. That anger, that is a lot of stuff. It's probably been pushed down for a long time, which is why the pressure is built up. So by us removing ourselves and saying, hey, and this is important, and so that I can be coming at this with a a balance. Step away real quick. Let me take a walk. Let me do this. Let me do that. It's called being resourced, really. If you're not, if you haven't slept, sex, and they hadn't eaten, recently, then you're not resourced. If you're showing up to a thing, this is a big thing for men as well and women to monitor. They teach us in marriage communication course that I learned from the 90s through a psychologist, and it's awesome. It's like, when you're unresourced, those waves of emotion that come up, harder for you to say, hold on, I need to step back, or to breathe, right? So keeping ourselves resourced is another tip. I just kind of threw that in there because it popped in my head. It's then like just saying, I love you. I want to continue this conversation. I need some time to just go right, until you get better at holding those emotions. But I want men to know that it's okay to just be like, hold on, I need a moment, and just hand on your belly, or just take a moment. Even sometimes it's just a breath. Something's really coming up with me based on what you said there, honey, or person, or whatever, whoever you're talking to. Like, this is really affecting me right now, what you said there. And I want to make sure, and this is where that discernment is it my stuff? Is it mine? You want to check in with yourself first. Am I feeling that's triggering something in me based on my background, based on my patterns? And or is that something truly to be angry, to really look at with this emotional vulnerability as a man, checking in and saying, hey, is this my stuff? And I'm really in the moment to at least check in for the awareness.
Dude, I'm trying to just sit with everything you just said, because I think if we just took that little clip just now, what you said, I mean, that could be an entire course.
Oh yeah.
I think Aaron James, you do this very well as a man. You do this very well, the process you just walk through. And I'm serious when I say this. I kind of learned this from you, watching you, going, damn, I've been fucking reactive, talking, just responding. I'm like, that's power to stop and really be in this. And so I love how you're saying that. And just to bring into this for people to really, have this process, because I think sometimes when people hear this kind of conversation, they can think it's more of theoretical or esoteric. And so emotions are frequency, and I don't think people realize that David Hawkins has a map of consciousness,
Yeah.
and these frequencies aren't just metaphorical; they've been mapped out in his map of consciousness, right? So
Yeah.
each emotion carries a measurable vibrational frequency. He wasn't the first one to do it. I know for a fact, Dr. Thurman Fleet in 1930 did this. Also, L.
Mm-hmm.
Ron Hubbard of Scientology, he did the same thing, and of course David Hawkins. And so love has like a 500 hertz, joy is 540, peace is 600, and as you go down, shame and guilt and fear and anger. But the reason I bring this up, I want to just drop this into everyone's consciousness. You understand the Roy G. Biv is the color spectrum: red, green, blue, yellow. The only difference between red, green, yellow, blue is a difference in the amount of wavelength. That's it. So when we look at emotions, the only difference between love, joy, shame, guilt, fear is the wavelength. Now, why that's important is because all wavelengths make up this God consciousness. The more you allow yourself to feel a wider range of emotions, the more you feel God, the more you feel your true self. And that's what I figured out laying down in bed for 6 months, going, I thought if I didn't feel anger or fear or guilt or shame, that would make me really like a happy person. But it wasn't. It just shut parts of myself out. So to make this really less, out there and more here, is like, this is actually a science, not just theoretical.
Yeah, and I love the way we're gonna make a good team, that we really break things down in a unique way. And thank you for seeing me, and thank you for saying that. Come back to, if anybody wants to, we can put a link in the comments, but it's like Map of Consciousness, Dr. Hawkins. That from power and force, and there's a neutrality. It's a really, really cool graphic. I actually have a printout. I can't remember where I have it, but there's like, it's a great power versus force. And you know, the higher the frequency, the stronger the frequency. You've got enlightened joy, love, reason, acceptance, willingness, neutrality, courage, and then it starts going down: pride, anger, desire, grief, apathy, guilt, shame at the bottom. So
Yeah.
these frequencies, right? These as well as like color coding, and this level that you can go up. You can go from fear, and you can jump up to pride. And that's kind of what we did in that recoding journal, is like start to recode what you want to be able to do. So I'm
Yeah.
glad you brought that up. Everybody go check out the mass. Really great by Dr. Hawkins.
And I
He'll
actually
put it
wrote it
there in the
I've
comments.
written writing this inside the comments for us, AJ. So this will be in the comments of our
Yeah.
videos. I wrote it in
Yeah,
there.
that's super helpful. Okay, so get back. Looking at the time,
Dang, that was
to wrap
fast.
up. I mean, we can. That is like, when we get on a roll. I know we're trying to keep these around 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to ask one more thing. Let's add another question then. So I guess, and then this can always come to. We really want to help empower men to to heal any wound, reclaim that primal fire that's in them, while at the same time being able to be vulnerable, being able to be emotionally vulnerable and in tune, being the man, and being in masculine, so that that relationship can happen. And I will say this: I want to publicly take responsibility where I screwed up in not just my last relationship, but in other relationships. There are things I continually learn the more I delve into identity and soft and healthy and toxic and all this, and having these conversations. Yeah, I see where once we try to be the feminine by being a female, in the relationship, it does mess up the polarity, unconscious, that conscious thought that women have. It's a feeling, it's emotions, all that. So there's something to holding our frame in positive masculinity, able to also be softer on the emotional side to relate and communicate the emotions effectively. Doesn't mean need to be, it means we are men that are in touch with our feminine side. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. In kind of a concluding wrap up, anything to say?
Man, that was thanks for that vulnerability, and I knew where you were going with that, and I think that's just beautiful, man. It's huge. I guess the last piece of that's huge is emotions are not just feelings; they are quantum frequencies broadcasting from your body, shaping your biology and your reality. And we are in this conversation. We don't want you to just understand them and manage them. We want you really to become a part of them, dive in them. You become the alchemist of your inner world, and you start seeing your reality change around you. And I just, again, I want to acknowledge you for being vulnerable, dropping in, man. Like, you lead the way in that. I think, like, it makes me want to do that more and more. So thanks for these conversations.
Thanks, bro. Thank you, brother. I appreciate everybody tuning in and hanging out with us. We look forward to the next one every Tuesday and Wednesday. Usually they're at 11:30. Sometimes we do it.
Yeah.
But if you weren't able to catch the whole thing, we're both going to be posting it on our socials. So
yes,
until next time, we'll keep the conversations going. Thank you so much, Doctor, your brother.
See you guys later.
To do 10 push-ups.